So, as some of you may know, I grew up in central Pennsylvania, right near Harrisburg, little town. And right now I live in Maryland, but all of my family still lives in Pennsylvania. Uh, and I have heard largely nothing but good things during this whole COVID debacle from an individual named Rachel Levine, Dr. Rachel Levine. She's a physician. She is the what is she in Pennsylvania? Let me find it here. She's the Pennsylvania Health Secretary. So whenever the governor would go up, she would be standing behind. She would come up and she would give statements on the state of how Pennsylvania is doing as far as COVID-19. I saw nothing but good things about her handling of the coronavirus, and she went up there and she presented with poise. The main problem that I saw about Dr. Rachel Levine is that Dr. Rachel Levine is a trans woman. Which is, say it with me, folks, based in pog-pilled. But other people tend not to see it that way. And folks, often, whenever she would get up, I mean, obviously Facebook comment sections are cesspools of scum and villainy on a good day. But when Dr. Rachel Levine would get up and give coronavirus updates, we would get such gems as, I don't trust the opinion of any doctor who thinks that a man can be a woman. I don't think that the person who thinks that genital mutilation is good for people to do has any right telling us how to live our lives and stay healthy. Remember, Twitter is also a fucking cesspool? True contingency. I saw these on Twitter as well. So she denies the science when it comes to biological sex, but, and obviously I'm saying she, they did not say she, all right? Yikes. She denies biological sex, but yet she expects us to listen to her about health advice? Disgusting. If any of y'all clip those out of context, you get banned, all right? Banned immediately. Banned. I don't understand how people can argue against trans rights. Like, who cares? I'll tell you, they care a fucking lot. So much clickbait. Shh. I shouldn't have said anything, all right? Let people live. Yeah, that's generally I mean, at least it's not a harmful take on it. But the other thing is, I gotta go doctor's appointment. Have a lovely doctor's appointment, contingency re 123. I'm so glad you stopped by today. The main contention I have with these people who say that, apart from being transphobic, because obviously not based in pog-pilled, right? The main contention I have with these people, and the main contention with people who come at me being a librarian who knows how to research, who knows how to read scientific studies, who knows what words mean, is when you come at somebody for their personal identity, rather than coming at them for the policy positions they put forward, the quality of the information that they're providing, things like that. Heading out for now, but I would love to chat sometime about politics and all. Nice to see someone with a conscience. Have a good one. You as well, Mogul. Have a lovely shower, and have a good rest of your night. So, for instance, I had someone in my Twitter mentions the other day. Or no, it wasn't my Twitter mentions. I think it was in Ravana's stream. I had somebody say, no, it was in my YouTube comments. That's where it was. What did I miss? We're talking about Rand Paul and transphobia and Dr. Rachel Levine. Also, there'll be a Twitch highlight for you as a chap. I'll send it to you. I'll send it in the Discord. I had someone in my YouTube comments tell me when I posted some things about the election and how electoral politics works and blah, 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 tell me something like, oh, that's all legalese. You couldn't possibly know what you just copy-pasted from some Wikipedia article, so I'm not going to believe anything that you say. Not much gets me heated. That shit pisses me off, all right? That shit makes me mad. And similarly, when people come for Dr. Rachel Levine, it's never, hey, I don't think the things that she's saying are accurate. It's always, I don't agree with the way that she chooses to conduct herself personally, therefore I discredit everything else that she says. You recite fact, but do not make fact. Not real fact? Obviously, right. It's such a weird virtue signal to tell people that you don't read books or that you don't trust experts and doctors. Such a weird way to say that to folks. So that's the kind of shit that Rachel Levine gets, all right? Terrible thing for people to say to her. Absolutely disgusting. So the other based in pog-pilled thing is that Biden has picked her to serve as assistant, or what is it? Deputy Surgeon General or something. Let me see. Assistant Health Secretary. That's what it is. So there's Dr. Rachel Levine. She has been chosen by Joe Biden to serve as Assistant Health Secretary, who would make the history as the first out transgender federal official to be confirmed by the Senate. Democratic Senator Patty Murray, the chair of the Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee, rebuked GOP Senator Rand Paul, saying that he had made harmful representations after he appeared to equate gender confirmation surgery with genital mutilation. We're going to take a look at this take, all right? We're going to look at the entire line of questioning that Rand Paul put forward. I've only watched the first couple seconds of this, and already, yikes, all right? Let's take a look.
Genital mutilation has been nearly universally condemned. Genital mutilation has been condemned by the WHO, the United Nations Children's Fund, the United Nations Population Fund. According to the WHO, genital mutilation is recognized internationally as a violation of human rights. Genital mutilation is considered particularly egregious because, as the WHO notes, it is nearly always carried out on minors and is a violation of the rights of children. Most genital mutilation is not typically performed by force, but as WHO...
When was this recorded? Why does it look like it's 1973? Today. It was recorded today. And it plays at... I found the original source video. It played at 240p. We're talking about circumcision now? That's a whole other thing, Zachap.
WHO notes that by social convention, social norm, the social pressure to conform, to do what others do and have been doing, as well as the need to be accepted socially and the fear of being rejected by the community. American culture is now normalizing the idea that minors can be given hormones to prevent their biological development of their secondary sexual characteristics. Dr. Levine, you have supported both allowing minors to be given hormone blockers to prevent them from going through puberty, as well as surgical destruction of a minor's genitalia. Like surgical mutilation, hormonal interruption of puberty can permanently alter and prevent secondary sexual characteristics. The American College of Pediatricians reports that 80 to 95% of prepubertal children with gender dysphoria will experience resolution by late adolescence if not exposed to medical intervention and social affirmation. Dr. Levine, do you believe that minors are capable of making such a life-changing decision as changing one's sex?
Well, Senator, thank you for your interest in this question. Transgender medicine is a very complex and nuanced field with robust research and standards of care that have been developed. And if I am fortunate enough to be confirmed as the Assistant Secretary of Health, I would look forward to working with you and your office and coming to your office and discussing the particulars of the standards of care for transgender medicine.
The specific question was about minors. Let's be a little more specific since you evaded the question. Do you support the government intervening to override the parent's consent to give a child puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and/or amputation surgery of breasts and genitalia? You have said that you're willing to accelerate the protocols for street kids. I'm alarmed that poor kids with no parents who are homeless and distraught, you would just go through this and allow that to happen to a minor. I would hope that you would have compassion for Kira Bell, who's a 23-year-old girl who was confused.
Oh, God, he brings up fucking Kira Bell. All right, we'll talk about Kira Bell in a bit. Hang
her
on.
identity. At 14, she read on the internet about something about transsexual. She thought, well, maybe that's what I am. She ended up getting these puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones. She had her breasts amputated. But here's what ultimately she says now. And this is a very insightful decision from someone who made a mistake but was led to believe this was a good thing by the medical community. I made a brash decision as a teenager, as a lot of teenagers do, trying to find confidence and happiness, except now the rest of my life will be negatively affected, she said, adding that the medicalized gender transitioning was a very temporary, superficial fix for a very complex identity issue. What I'm alarmed at is that you're not willing to say absolutely minors shouldn't be making decisions to amputate their breast or to amputate their genitalia. For most of our history, we believe that minors don't have full rights and that parents need to be involved. So I'm alarmed that you won't say with certainty that minors should not have the ability to make the decision to take hormones that will affect them for the rest of their life. Will you make a more firm decision on whether or not minors should be involved in these decisions?
Senator, transgender medicine is a very complex and nuanced field, and if confirmed to the position of Assistant Secretary of Health, I would certainly be pleased to come to your office and talk with you and your staff about the standards of care and the complexity of this field.
Let it go into the record that the witness refused to answer the question. The question is a very specific one. Should minors be making these momentous decisions? For most of the history of medicine, we wouldn't let you have a cut sewn up in the ER, but you're willing to let a minor take things that prevent their puberty, and you think they get that back? You give a woman testosterone enough that she grows a beard, you think she's gonna go back looking like a woman when you stop the testosterone? You have permanently changed them. Infertility is another problem. None of these drugs have been approved for this. They're all being used off-label. I find it ironic that the left that went nuts over hydroxychloroquine being used possibly for COVID are not alarmed that these hormones are being used off-label. There's no long-term studies. We don't know what happens to them. We do know that there are dozens and dozens of people who've been through this who regret that this happened and a permanent change happened to them. And, you know, if you've ever been around children, 14-year-olds can't make this decision. In the gender dysphoria clinic in England, 10% of the kids are between the ages of 3 and 10. We should be outraged that someone's talking to a 3-year-old about changing their sex. I can't vote for you if you can't.
Thank you so much, Senator Paul. Senator Levine, thank you for answering the question. I will turn to Senator Baldwin.
All right, folks. So what's our vibe on this? All right. Here's my vibe on this. I can get into the fact that only in like specific edge cases where the psychological state is such, I feel like 3 to 10 maybe a bit weird. Let me get through this. Only in specific edge cases are minors encouraged to undergo surgical transition. Largely, treatment of gender dysphoria for minors consists of what's called puberty blockers, or things that so when you undergo puberty, you know, you start getting real schmelly, and you know, if you're a girl, your boobs grow, and you go through you know, your first couple periods, and if you're a guy, you start to get really, really hairy, and your muscle mass starts to build. If you take a puberty blocker as a child, it doesn't stop the puberty from happening. It only delays it. Because puberty is a process that once you flip the switch, it goes through. Some people hit it really early, some people hit it really late. All you're doing is staving that off just a little bit. Because if you start developing those secondary sex characteristics, it's hard to, like, you can stop them pretty early with that, with the puberty blockers, and then make your determination later down the line. Do I want to undergo hormone therapy? Do I want to undergo a surgical transition once I've hit adulthood? Do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? No one in the medical or psychological community, at least that I've seen, advocates for children from 3 to 10, especially, but under the age of, I think, 16 is the age that they'll allow kids to make their own decisions. I could be wrong on that. We can talk about this. This isn't the discussion that I want to get into. I want to get into 2 points about Rand Paul here. All right. This isn't about trans folks, though we value them and we find them valid and we think that they're important. This isn't about Dr. Rachel Levine. She has shown herself to be very poised and confident, as you saw in that clip, after that frankly disgusting line of questioning. Poised, a response that doesn't commit her to any position, doesn't give Rand Paul the soundbite that he wants. Here's my 2 issues with Rand Paul. Number 1, it seems very hypocritical to me that someone whose father ran on libertarian and who espouses himself as libertarian, right, and prides himself on individual rights, the right to self-govern, the right to self-actuate, would be so dead set. Is Rachel Levine, or however you spell it, trans? Or just... She is a trans woman who is a doctor. It's Levine. It's Levine, I think. I don't think it's Levine. I think it's Levine. And they said Levine in the video, so. For someone who, thumps the book of self-determination, to tell people that they do not have the right to determine whether or not they want to get the treatments that they feel would improve their lives, and that their physicians feel would improve their lives, and that the larger body of science and medicine and psychology has shown that these people are able to improve their lives and self-actuate. For a libertarian right-winger to say, no, you shouldn't be able to do that, is frankly hypocritical to me. That doesn't sit right with me. That is doublethink. That is cognitive dissonance. You are holding to one position while also holding another position that contradicts that position. All right? That's one thing. We know Republicans are hypocrites. If it's good for me, great. But that same thing, if it's good for you and bad for me, not great, don't do it. The second issue that I have with this clip, that I have with Rand Paul's behavior here, is it appropriate for Rand Paul to hammer this specific medical point in a hearing that is evaluating Dr. Rachel Levine's larger body of experience and whether or not she would be a good fit for a federal health official? Or was this a blatant show of weaponized identity politics towards a transgender woman? I don't think that was an appropriate line of questioning for Rand Paul. I do not think that it was relevant in any way. And I think it served only to, as Rand Paul often does, derail the conversation in order to try and get a soundbite or create a soundbite himself that would rile up his base, that would continue the culture war, that would further his narrative that transgender people are not valid. Frankly, I think this is disgusting. I do feel that that was very much of an attack, which is why I had to ask if they were trans. Yes, she is trans. Now, while we're on the topic of our elected, at least my elected officials, not yours, nuisance, my elected officials, being transphobic, let me find our good friend Marjorie Taylor Greene. Marjorie Taylor Greene. Marjorie Taylor Greene posts anti-transgender sign across hall from lawmaker, get out of here CNN, with transgender child. Let me see if I can find the...
Freshman Congresswoman
Ah, bah, bah, bah,
Marie
bah, 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 bah,
Newman
bah.
is speaking out for the first
No,
time.
no. Let me see, because there's more context here. I want to find the context. I want to make sure that I am able to categorize this accurately for you all and give you the full, unadulterated story. Very, very important to me. So, there is another congresswoman named Marie Newman who has a transgender child, all right? She says, our neighbor, Rep. MTG, which is Representative Magic the Gathering, tried to block the Equality Act because she believes prohibiting discrimination against trans Americans is disgusting, immoral, and evil. Her words. Thought we'd put up our transgender flag so she can look at it every time she opens her door. There they go. There's Greene's office. Boom, boom, boom. There it is, folks. She gives the little hand dust. Ta-da. What the fuck? Let me guess. You claim to be a Christian yet ignore the true teachings of Jesus in the Gospels. The Equality Act merely includes people who are different in the Civil Rights Act of 1964. See how behind the times you are? What the... I don't know what this guy's trying to say. So... that was the first salvo. A relatively minor one. Who is the end? I can't tell what the fuck that guy was trying to say, all right? All right. So this was Representative Magic the Gathering's retort, all right? Our neighbor, Representative Marie Newman, wants to pass the so-called Equality Act to destroy women's rights and religious freedoms. Thought we'd put up ours so she can look at it every time she opens her door, winky face. All right. Says there are two genders, male and female. Trust the science. First of all, Magic the Gathering, if that is your real name. Male and female are sexes, not genders. Now that that's out of the way. Absolutely disgusting behavior by Marjorie Taylor Greene. Which, honestly, what do we expect? Not much. Bro, I'm against abuse, but goddamn, she's gonna be left gathering her magic when I'm done. True. Get her. It's just, I don't know if I have much more to say. I think the behavior of these people speaks for themselves. They are... Why does she look so disheveled? She just terminally looks like shit, I think. Like, look at these dead eyes, dude. Look at these dead eyes. Look at that. Well, hi there. Finally up from a migraine nap. How are you all? I don't know why I made you Southern Todd Von Meer. Welcome to the stream. I'm doing great. We're talking about our elected officials being transphobic. But yeah, I don't see what else I need to say about this. This is obviously disgusting. This is obviously deeply harmful to our national discourse. Because I'm making Southern sweet tea irony and Wu calling out transphobes? True. She kind of looks like her husband is stuck in a mud pit in his Silverado. He probably is. Yeah. I don't want to editorialize this too much, because me editorializing it is just going to say more things that you're already thinking in your head, and more things that I've already said before. Trans people are valid. It's a scientific fact. There's 4,500-year-old texts that describe trans people. India has a legally recognized third gender. I don't need to have this discussion. This discussion's been had thousands of times. And if you are still on the anti-science part of the spectrum, if you still hold the anti-scientific and anti-psychological position that runs counter to the large body of evidence, then you're being wrong on purpose. And if you're weaponizing those thoughts and those feelings in order to put down a deeply vulnerable group of people, who would be greatly helped mostly by social transition, mostly by social acceptance. People be like, trans people aren't people, meanwhile watch golf. Yeah, I guess they do. Are you saying golfers aren't people? That's pretty essentialist of you, Nuisance. Yeah. I think we're done here. Representative Greene, Representative Paul, or Senator Paul, cringe, all right? Major cringe.